WCPT.com and learn more. A public service message from Obesity Action Coalition.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Having repairs done in your apartment should never come with strings attached, like being harassed and constantly pressured for sexual favors.
My leaky faucet turned into the maintenance man asking, when are we going to get to know each other better?
I needed my air conditioner fixed, but my building manager repeatedly kept coming into my apartment unannounced and without permission.
My landlord told me my rent would be free if I gave him something in exchange.
Sexual harassment by anyone associated with your housing isn't just wrong, it's against the law. The Fair Housing Act protects you from harassment, including someone making unwelcome sexual advances or refusing to make repairs because you deny sexual favors. If this happens to you, you can stop it by filing a complaint with HUD.
So I called HUD and filed a complaint against my building manager. No strings attached.
Fair Housing. The law is on your side. To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. If you fear for your safety, call 911. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Wednesday morning, progressives and all the rest. Welcome to the May 20th, 2026 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our number. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn, radio, YouTube, of course, all those good places. Also broadcasting on AM 950 in Minneapolis and 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. You can email me at richard@wcpt820.com, and you can follow me on all of the social outlets that are there. Just, you can check it out. Choose Views is pretty easy to remember, I think. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Patty Vasquez, Driving It Home, and It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath. And, of course, all our other shows and interviews and posts and all that good stuff that we have at heartlandsignal.com. Yesterday, I asked the question, Henry, where folks, if they've read a great political book or what's one of their favorite political books or political reads, and where people go to get their political information. Obviously, radio shows like this one and other shows that we have here on WCPT, Patty's show, Joan's show, and Edwin's, of course, and all the rest. But, what newspapers are people reading? What magazines are people reading? What keeps you plugged in? What podcasts do you check out? As I said yesterday, and I've said so many times before, this is really about making sure that your voice is heard, making sure that you are spending time reading and reviewing and finding additional things to fill your bucket, and at the same time that you find a way, and I mean this, guys, you find a way to put some things out there. You find a way to put your voice out there. One of our listeners, you guys have heard her on the show a couple of times, Jody Martin, the snarky correspondent. She likes to she spices it up, and she writes some great stuff. And she's now starting to kind of get some wind in her sails when it comes to this, and so many others, Karen Byrne and Anita with their podcast. So I really want to encourage everybody, if you're having conversations with people in your world, in your universe, whatever, start to think maybe this is something that I should be, putting into a space that other people can appreciate. None of it has to be perfect. Believe me, I clean up on Al 7 is my new middle name, I guess you could say. My mother's going, wait a minute, that's not the middle name we gave you. But the point is, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be something that you believe in and that you're willing to put some time into. And you start, doing a small amount, and then the next thing you know, you got a bigger thing going on. So I encourage everyone to, review what you read and where you grab your information from, and then you start to be one of those people that put some things out there. You might be surprised at what you're capable of doing, and I want to encourage everyone to be in that space. On today's show, we will be in the 6:30 hour talking with Senior Program Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Jamie Bussel. Looking forward to talking with Jamie. She's one of those bright spots, even though we may have to talk about a couple of tough topics when it comes to resources. So I'll just put it there, and then we'll get into it when she's here. But she's going to be with us in the 6:30 hour. And then, of course, it's Wednesday, so Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be hanging out with us in the 7 o'clock hour. And then at 7:30, independent journalist and political analyst and founder of the best-selling Substack publication, Ahmed Baba News. Ahmed Baba will be with us in the 7:30 hour, and he and I are going to talk about how the media is making it along, one, but we're also going to talk about some of the controversies that are going on with the president and his administration. So looking forward to having him with us in the 7:30 hour. So that's what's happening today, this morning. Some primaries took place yesterday, and, people are making a big deal out of the primaries and the Republicans who, in the last few days, Cassidy over the weekend, Raffensperger down in Georgia. I just drew a blank on his name. The gentleman in Kentucky that lost his primary to a more MAGA. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? That's crazy, but it'll come to me. Tom Massey. Thank you, Tom Massey. He lost his primary to a highly supported, highly funded MAGA person that Trump got behind. Okay, so Massey was one of those people. You guys have followed him. We've talked about him here. Massey is one of those people who did not support Trump 100%. Just because it's Trump, I'm going to support everything he does. And we don't have to get into the weeds of the things that he pushed back on. He was a big advocate of releasing the Epstein files, not down with the war, a number of things. And so a big deal is going to be made about Trump. Is Trump getting his legs back because, he used his presidential, influence to come into these primaries, Republican primaries, let's be clear. And he's endorsed Ken Paxton rather than John Cornyn in Texas. And that's showing Donald Trump's sway. I don't fully agree with that because they threw $33 million, if I have the numbers correct, into this Kentucky primary. That's a whole lot of money, Henry. I look at that and think, that's just abusive. That's beyond wasteful. That's obnoxious. How many people's lives in the community? Let's put it that way. How many people's lives in the district that Massey is formerly, the representative of, would have been changed with that $33 million? So this is where, when people talk about money in politics, I have a different observation. You guys have heard what I've said about in terms of dark money and non-transparent money versus good money that's helping good people run and win. In this case, this was about a good man, from all I read about Thomas Massey, that opposes Trump on some things that he should have opposed. He did the right thing as a human being. He did the right thing. But that amount of money thrown into an election is just obnoxious and could have been spent in so many other ways. I think the real message, and this is what I hope Democrats pick up on, and do it with do it surgically, that this shows the wastefulness of the Republican Party. They've got to spend that much money. This is the message that I hope the Dems can grab and say, yeah, we're going to have to spend some money. We know that. That's going to happen. But we should be talking about the wasteful amount of money that the Republicans are having to spend to keep their message alive, their disgusting, awful, harmful message to the American community alive. They have to spend that much money to shut down a guy who was speaking truth to power. So that, to me, is hopefully part of what the Democratic message machine will put together. They're wasting money to keep their message alive, not helping people. And you do some simple comparison and contrast. And this guy this is the thing. This is why I know people have said don't blame the voters. Well, in this case, I'm blaming the voters because you all picked a guy that's actually going to be worse for you in Kentucky. You actually did. You picked a person that's willing to kiss Donald Trump's nasty behind over a guy who's willing to stand up for you. That's on you, voters of Kentucky. And I'm not going to apologize for saying that. If I saw 1,000 Kentucky voters and you all voted for this guy that's going to replace Massey in the primary, I would tell you all that. That's all on you. You voted for somebody. You voted against the guy that was actually standing up for things that were right for Kentucky and in many ways right for the country as a Republican, and you all said no to that. That's on the Republican voters. And you got problems with it, you can go kick rocks. Because this is where I draw the line and I say, yeah, we criticize our own. We work hard to make our own better and stronger and strengthen our team. We have to do that if we're being honest. But the Republicans, well, I tell you, they are some dog-A people. They really are when it comes to this. You all are going to vote for a guy that's going to cut your neck versus a guy that's going to be there to help to make sure that you're protected. That's just flat out. That is being in a cult. The cult leader says jump and you jump out of a window. That's what y'all just did. And you did it in Georgia with Raffensperger. You're doing it in other places. But that's on you all. Because for us as Democrats, what we need to do is come in and clean up. We need to continue to put out strong candidates like we're doing in some of these, in Indiana, like we're doing. We had Qasim Rashid on yesterday talking about the fact that, one of our own got it wrong. Cory Booker kind of got it wrong in terms of who he supported in the race in Pennsylvania. So we're picking the right people. We're picking good, strong people to represent us. And Christopher Babb won that primary election. That's a good thing. We've got more people like that coming. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. I know that probably we'll talk about it more with Kurt in terms of good, strong candidates and not whining and moaning about who's running, but let's get behind the best people we can. And in that breath, we're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Create the yard of your dreams with help from Menards. Give your lawn a professional-grade look with Pennington Contractors Mix. It contains a mix of grass seed that covers up to 8,000 square feet, providing your lawn with quick, lush, professional-grade results. Save big money on Pennington Contractors Mix now at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
You've been working hard all day and didn't have time to catch up on the news during work.
And that phone just wouldn't stop.
We've got you covered. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
We will fight as many places and as many times as it takes to get this power back.
Joan Esposito, afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. WCPT 820.
It's 4 words no parent should ever hear. Your child is sick. It's 4 words that change everything. those 4 words can define a family. It's 4 words that are filled with pain, heartache, and grief. And with those 4 words, the innocence and joy of childhood disappears. But Starlight has taught us 4 other words that make all the difference. The power of play. Healing begins with happiness. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation delivers happiness through gaming, toy deliveries, and more to 3 million kids at more than 700 hospitals across the country to deliver happiness when it matters most. Learn more at starlight.org.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Mic's on, truth's out. This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. And here we are with a couple of quick Chew's Views news items on this May 20th, 2026. Home Depot seeks an uptick in sales on smaller home projects. High gas prices, rising interest rates, and a slow housing market hampered Home Depot's traditional growth driver. What's that? Major renovations. But smaller projects still helped increase sales by 5% in earnings reported yesterday. The home improvement retailer remains locked in a flat cycle thanks to a myriad of customer pressures, but it did slightly beat earnings and revenue estimates, and so they continue to move forward. It's been stated that they are looking to improve sales with professional shoppers like contractors and roofers. New York governor is announcing agreement to end the rail strike, a strike that brought down the nation's largest commuter rail system for days, may be coming to an end. New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced a tentative labor agreement late yesterday between the Metropolitan Transportation Authority and unions representing the Long Island Railroad workers, calling the agreement a fair deal that delivers raises for workers while protecting riders and taxpayers. America's top employers for career growth by city. New report that's come out on LinkedIn, from oil and gas giants in Houston to big banks in New York City. There's a new report that LinkedIn's top companies in top cities has listed. It's a great report. The featured employers span sectors from healthcare in Boston, like CVS, to entertainment, of course, in Los Angeles, Walt Disney Company, to tech in San Francisco, and Salesforce. So there's a great list of some of the top cities if folks are looking at where and what can be some of the best employment sectors. The NFL is choosing to have the Super Bowl in 2030 in Nashville, the site of the Super Bowl 64. It's been named as a host city yesterday, bringing in the game to the Music City for the first time. The game will serve as a showcase of the Nissan Stadium, and the new home of the Tennessee Titans is set to open in 2027. The owners approved the proposed unanimously at their spring league meeting in Orlando. The next 2 Super Bowls will be held in Inglewood, California, and Atlanta. And there you go. And last but not least, Zillow stands to lose its access to Chicago area listings. Midwest Real Estate Data threatened in a press release this week to suspend its data feed to Zillow if Zillow failed to display listings that marketed in private channels prior to going public, escalating an ongoing feud. Earlier the same day, Zillow petitioned a federal court to block the MERD from cutting off its listing feed pending separate litigation, pitting Zillow against MERD and Compass International Holdings. The stakes are very high for Zillow, which stands to lose access to a vast swath of real estate listings in the Chicago area. So we'll keep you posted on that as we go along. But there you go, guys. A couple of quick Choose Views news items. Kind of bouncing around on a couple different topics today. But there you are. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be talking to Maggie Mullen, state government and politics reporter for YOFile.com, an independent public interest news service. See, there you go, independent news. She'll talk about the ongoing, quote, Checkgate scandal in Wyoming. Aaron Kleinman, head of research at Heartland Signal and author of Radio Free America newsletter, He'll have insights on on the primaries from last night in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Georgia, Oregon, Alabama, and Idaho. And Spencer Critchley, author of Patriots of Two Nations and host of the Dastardly Cleverness in the Service of Good podcast. It's live, local, and progressive weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal, and their guests are Michael Fristini and Ricky Martel of Second City Outlaws. Peter Coolidge, Democratic candidate for sheriff in DuPage County, and Kate Morrissey and Descopy RN at Rush University Medical Center. She'll discuss the center's nurses to vote to join the National Nurses Organizing Committee, an affiliate of the National Nurses United. There you go. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, the Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow, my guests here on Choose Views include Illinois Congresswoman Robin Kelly, Rick Tivers, clinical social worker and therapist based here in Evanston, Illinois, and Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, immigration attorney and CEO of Lincoln Goldfinch Law in Austin, Texas, as well as Dante King, university professor, speaker, and human resources consultant. So there you go. It's a busy day. We've got a lot going on. We'll keep you posted. Let's make them pay is a statement that came to my mind yesterday when I was thinking about where we are with this $1.7 billion that's going to be, given to terrorists. That's what we talk about, funding terrorism, Henry. That's what this $1.7 billion is doing. I'll get more into Let's Make Them Pay in a moment, but I don't want to forget our question of the day for us here Wednesday. I talk a lot about Schumer, Jeffries, other leaders in the National Party, Ken Martin with the DNC, and others, and who the big voices are, who's going to be, which voices are going to evolve, both now in the congressional elections as well as the national election in 2 years. But a question I want to ask you guys is this, and I've touched on this before in different ways, but I want to ask this question. I want to get you two guys to respond seriously about this. If you were sitting down with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, not separately, but at the same time, if you were sitting down with them, what would you want to talk with them about? And what would that meeting look like? So, again, if you were sitting down with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, big conference room, comfortable, somebody brought in lunch, what would you want to talk to them about? What would that meeting look like from your perspective? If you were the one that was invited to sit down and have a conversation with them, let us know. Send us a text. You can give us a call. Henry's going to open the lines in a moment. And certainly you can go to our Facebook page and leave your comments there. But I really do want to know what you guys, if you were sitting down with Schumer and Jeffries, what would you want to talk up with them about? What would that meeting look like? Let us know so we can try to weave that into the conversations today. Okay. What do I mean by let's make them pay? We have to make sure that the Republican Party, in all of its facets, all of its angles, all of its people, that they pay for the harm that they've allowed to happen. And I thought about this money that's going to go to they want to say the victims of January 6th. They weren't victims. The victims that were January 6th are the officers that died, the citizens that were injured, the property that was damaged, and the legislators who were put in harm's way. Those are the only victims. Not one of those attendees, if you want to call them, but I'm going to call them rioters and terrorists. That's what they were. Because you can damn well believe, and I'm going to be biased for a moment by design, partisan and culturally specific. If that had been, if the numbers of people that had shown up that day to riot and terrorize the Capitol looked like me, there would have been bullets fired. People have strayed away from talking about it that way, but I'm not afraid to talk about that way. I know damn well that if that group of people looked like me, there would have been gunshots. There would have been people shot and killed, injured, maimed. There's no question in my mind. So this is not only a use of our funds to pay back terrorists, to pay off terrorists, to try to, assuage, let a number of them out, pardon a bunch of them. Now we're going to give them money. Come on, America, we ain't mad enough yet. I mean, we're just not mad enough. So we need to make them pay by showing up at all of the elections. And let's not get too caught up in the purity test. I'm telling y'all, we're going to end up shooting ourselves in the foot if we run around saying, well, if that person took money from a PAC, then they shouldn't be voted for. I get where that's coming from, and I talked about this earlier in terms of the money that went to the Massey race. And I'll talk about this more. But I have a slightly different view of the whole thing around PAC money. It depends on where it comes from and what's the meaning behind it. And I'll cite you an example. If 10 of your favorite people put together a PAC and it raised X amount of money, are you going to then say to the candidate, nope, can't take that money. I'm not voting for you because it's a PAC. We got to be a little bit more careful with the language we use in describing things and then the actions that will follow those things that we describe. But let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, as well as our good friends at AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we will be talking with the Senior Program Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Jamie Bussel. Can't wait to talk to Jamie. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Today, let's look at some makeup brands the president would never buy from, that support the Democrat Party. Ulta. Now, Ulta does not give to politics. However, they still have their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, and they announced that at the end of 2025, they'll end their partnership with Target, and you will no longer be able to buy Ulta products at Target. Lush. Now, Lush is a British company who does not donate to American politics. However, they have donated millions to environmental justice organizations, animal protection organizations, and human rights organizations over $100 million since 2007. And their founder, Mark Constantine, said, "Don't shop at my store if you aren't woke." Safe to say the president and the vice president will not be getting any of their makeup from these brands. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of this tunnel.
That light at the end of the tunnel. Your guiding light.
That light is going to get brighter and brighter.
Through another day.
I think it's a great day.
The Joan Esposito Show. Live, local, and progressive. Weekday afternoons at 2 on WCPT 820.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chu.
All right, guys. Yes, more than the headlines, but the headlines are important right now. And one of the big ones is how we're taking care of each other when it comes to resources. I'm going to put it in the broad sense, and then we'll get into more specifics. With us this morning is a senior program officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And I'm so honored to have folks on from this organization, Henry and Mike. They're smart people. They care about folks. And whenever we've had the blessing of having them on, it's always been very informative. Jamie, good morning. Jamie Bussel from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Welcome to Choose Views on WCPT.
Thank you so much, Richard, and thank you for such a lovely introduction. Happy to join you guys this morning.
Well, I mean it, Jamie. When I say that, I mean it, because you guys have just been amazing, and I love the fact that the work that you do is, and we know that there's going to be a certain amount of partisan conversations that we have. It's just kind of the nature of where we are, and you guys have remained, to that extent, nonpartisan. But at the same time, you also do cover the issues that are very specific to so many groups of people that have been marginalized. And I'm just proud that we have, your kind of voice in the conversation. So thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much. We were all privileged to be able to do this work, so appreciate you having us on.
Absolutely. So Jamie, let's get into it. I mean, well-being of families should be that should be our number one national security issue. Making sure that folks are taken care of, folks are fed, folks are healthy. And I think, to me, that's more important than how many places we're going to go and bomb and how many folks we're going to go and terrorize in another country. I put that right in line with, that's first, Jamie, and then education. If we've got a well-fed, well-resourced, highly educated society, our national security is going to probably take care of itself. Am I crazy?
You bet. Couldn't agree with you more. Nothing more important than ensuring that every child and every family, no matter who they are, where they live, color of their skin, how much money their parents make, no matter who, that everybody should have a fair and just opportunity to live the best, healthiest life possible. And, we're striving for a nation where health is no longer the privilege of a few, but the right for all. So you bet. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, and Jamie, I said this a bunch of times when the numbers came out a few weeks ago about how much money we're spending. It had spent, and this was at the end of March or the end of April on the war in Iran, $25 billion. And you and I are both reasonably good with numbers. We can do the math of take 25 or take 50 cities in the country and spread that largesse in those directions and look at how much. And it doesn't matter if they're red, blue, or purple. Just look at how much better those cities would be. And we could start with SNAP. I mean, walk us down how you've been navigating the cuts and what that's done to harm families. There's some data out there that could take us into the weeds, but give us some top lines of what this has done. Sorry.
Sure. So, I'll, top line, I think, again, for those from, SNAP is a government program that helps people afford groceries. And it's a lifeline for millions and millions of people out there, for families, trying to extend limited paychecks for seniors living on limited incomes to ensure that kids don't go hungry. 17% of people in this country participate in the program. 4 out of 10 of those participants are kids. And, the irony here is like the substantial research that's out there that shows the widespread benefits of this program, which include lifting kids and families out of poverty, stabilizing communities, boosting local economies, helping families really weather financial hardship, and improving the health and well-being of infants and kids, and boosting academic achievement. So, there's incredibly powerful benefits, and yet, despite all of these benefits, the administration decided to pass legislation last summer in July, the big, beautiful bill that is anything but beautiful. The big, beautiful bill, it's big though, passed last July, included severe and really dangerous cuts to the SNAP program, amongst many other things. We could talk about Medicaid as well, but we're talking about SNAP this morning. And it did so in a whole number of ways. Dramatically increased work requirements for older adults. It essentially shifts costs onto states, and we can talk a little bit more about those details. It takes benefits away from lawful immigrants. And finally, over the next decade, it reduces benefits for everyone because it has essentially frozen the possibility of actually examining what the benefit is and potentially increasing it based on food costs and inflation. So the last time the SNAP benefit was increased was back in 2021. This law essentially makes that no longer possible to sort of re-examine. And just so folks have a sense, like the average benefit, we're not talking about a lot of resources here. And I think that there's a huge misperception about that. Like this is per person, $188 a month. For a household of 4, it's $322 a month. That translates to $2 per meal per day. And so you show me where in America, you can get a good healthy meal for $2 a day. But again, that's the average benefit, and it's pretty egregious what's happening when we look at $187 billion over the next 10 years will be cut from this program. And I think you lifted up how much we're spending every month on the war. And it's just shameful.
It's shameful to what end? I mean, I one of the challenges when I talk to somebody like you, Jamie, is, and I know you've got so much data in front of you, and I gather data and try to hold on to it and make some sense of it all. But the one thing that you just said that made me think about the cost per meal, and then I tied that to why we have these programs in the first place. Well, because we call ourselves a good society, that we have the programs that are there to support the least among us, and some that have slipped into being the least among us because of things that are not necessarily of their own making. What am I talking about? Jobs and compensation. So we've got a disparity there. I mean, how about we just pay people more money, which is not difficult to do, and you juxtapose that, Jamie, into this $1.7 billion that we're going to give to terrorists that attacked our capital, but yet we can't feed folks. We can't make sure that people have a better pay in their job. I mean, I know for someone like you that is a statistician, that's a program director, that's a leader, it's got to be frustrating as hell to look at that and say, the numbers ain't numbering.
Yeah, the math just doesn't, you have CEO salaries at, $30 million a year, and then a bank teller making $16.50 and working full time. So I think also another misperception here, like majority of people on SNAP have full-time employment or are working multiple jobs and still cannot make ends meet. And so pulling these resources away from people are also tasking people with making impossible choices around paying rent versus getting groceries on the table and feeding their kids, or going to see a doctor, or taking medication, regularly that they need. So these are choices that no one in a nation as wealthy as America should ever have to make. And the fact that we have kids and families faced with hunger in this country is just pitiful. We can do better, and this administration has made decisions that are gravely impacting the health and well-being of this nation and our future and our kids and families.
Yeah, and here's the thing, oftentimes you'll hear folks say that we have to change where we are as a country, and whether it be politically, socially, economically, all the above, because we don't want to leave this country worse off for our children and grandchildren. Well, I'm of the mindset, Jamie, that I plan on being around at least another 20, 25 years, maybe longer, depending. I want those 25 to 30 years to be pretty damn good. So I think, not to sound selfish, but we have to look at this and say, right now we have problems, rather than just saying that we want to fix this for the future. How about we, as a group of good-thinking people, good-minded, good-hearted people, say, let's fix this stuff right now for all of us, and then it's going to be even better down the road for our children, our grandchildren, and all the rest. And I think that's part of the message. I mean, it's more of a political message, but it's also there's a social impact to this. We got grannies and aunties and uncles that are struggling right now, and I'm sure that they don't want their lives to get any worse. So I think that you're on to something when you say that our programs need to be reinvigorated. We need to go back to that 2021 legislation, because that had kind of created a firewall. And to see that this current administration has ripped that away to open the floodgates of despair on folks, it's awful. It's just terribly awful.
It is, and you think back, like when SNAP began back in 1964, was called the food stamp program.
Mm-hmm.
It benefited from support across the aisles. Like, this was not a political issue. This was an issue around ensuring that people have what they need to thrive. And I think this program, like many of our social programs here, like, this is about a hand up, not a handout. And When I think about the substantial research that shows like just the widespread benefits, particularly of SNAP, and the fact that, we're looking at once this law is like fully operationalized in 2027, there are estimates that 4 million people are going to lose their benefits or have them cut dramatically. That is a huge amount of seniors, veterans, children, people with disabilities. Like this is not, these are our neighbors, friends, colleagues, so many people benefit from these resources and critical supports.
And Jamie, and here's the thing, and I'm glad that you're kind of getting it out, because I can see you're you're getting wound up, and I'm glad I got you wound up this morning, because we need to take passion and energy to this conversation. And I'm not being critical of you, so please take that the right way. We need to have the folks like you in the room when these decisions are being made. That's the point I want to make. When these decisions are being made by politicians on any level to cut programs, more of the Jamies that work with organizations like you do need to be part of that conversation, I believe, because it forces them to look at not just the data, but the social impact. So take a moment before we go to this break real quick. Just highlight Robert Wood Johnson as a foundation and kind of give us the 30-second commercial on Robert Wood Johnson.
Sure. And maybe I'll just say more important than having Jamie in any of these conversations is let's get real people into these conversations that are benefiting from these programs. So with lived experience, around the transformative nature of these resources and how critically important they are for people, because I think those are the stories that matter and count and can move people, and we need to be centering people and community in all of these decision making. But back to Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, we are the largest health foundation in the nation. We are committed to and have a big, bold, ambitious goal of really realizing a nation where, as I said, everyone, no matter who you are, where you live, color of your skin, how much money your parents make, but everyone has a fair and just opportunity to live the best, healthiest life possible, and where health is no longer the privilege of a few, but the right for all.
Yeah, let's take a quick...
And we do that by very deliberately addressing the structural barriers to health and well-being, which include things like racism.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the quality of our food. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu, and we are talking with Senior Program Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Jamie Bussel. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
Joining us now on the phone is gay icons living legend, John Waters. Your body of work has shaped the lives of so many people. Even this morning, my neighbor was texting me. She's like, please tell him that Crybaby was my gay awakening.
Funny, because there's no gay characters in Crybaby.
I know. But there's something about, your movies, the embracing of camp, the embracing of tacky, the just all-out, just queer counterculture nature. Do you ever feel a responsibility for lifting the voice of the counterculture?
Well, I'm proud of it when people say that, I made them feel okay about themselves. And I wrote a whole book called Role Models about the people that did that for me. Yeah. Everybody needs a bad influence they can look up to.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
This is a WCPT Civil Rights Snapshot. In August of 2022, American Airlines hosted the Bessie Coleman Aviation All-Stars Tour, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Bessie Coleman performing the first public flight by a woman of color. Bessie was a phenomenal pilot, but her path to get there was far from easy. When Bessie was 23, she moved in with her brothers who were returning from World War I. Bessie's brothers would tease Bessie because in France, women were allowed to fly planes, something Bessie could not. Determined, Bessie applied to several flight schools across the country, where she was declined for being a woman and being of color. Remembering what her brothers said, Bessie taught herself French and applied and was accepted to the Caudron Brothers School of Aviation in France, and received her international pilot's license in 1921. Pullman traveled the country giving speeches and demonstrations, refusing to speak anywhere that was segregated. Sadly, in 1926, due to a loose wrench stuck in the engine, Bessie followed the plane to her death. Bessie's death was tragic, but it shows that even in 2022, her legacy still lives on. Please stay vigilant about our civil rights. The fight is never over.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
No fake news here. It's Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. We have the luxury to be speaking with Senior Program Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Jamie Bussel. Jamie, all right, the quality of our food is it's definitely a topic that we've all been talking about. Ultra-processed foods has really been something that's been on your windshield of things that we should be talking about in the nation. Give us your take on where we are with that and what the foundation is trying to do to bring more and shed more light.
So look, we have a food supply where unhealthy food, ultra processed food is pretty ubiquitous, like across the board, and I think it's confusing for consumers especially, and I think that what we're trying to do, and as a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, one of our long-standing programs came out with an attempt at really a consensus-driven process to outline and define ultra-processed foods. It's incredibly complicated in terms of like some of the current things, but I'll just say like the choices people make are based on the choices people have. Mm-hmm. And I think that, things like food labeling and, other types of like supports there could be valuable. I also think there's accountability that needs to be taken into account on the food industry in terms of some of the really insidious marketing and advertising practices that are deployed, particularly to kids of color in this country. There's a lot of research out there about that. So I think, we need in this country, dare I say, better regulation, because we know that industry self-regulation is industry self-regulation. So I think that I think we all have a role to play here, but I also think it's really important to acknowledge that, again, the choices people make are based on the choices people have. And when the markets are totally satiated with the most unhealthy food, the most unhealthy beverages, then that makes people's choices more precarious. So yeah, and I think when you have slogans now from this administration around eat real food, the hypocrisy in that when you're telling people to eat real food and then completely like decimating programs like SNAP, it's just like really profound hypocrisy. So yes, every person should eat real food, but everybody should have access to and the ability to and the resources to actually eat real food.
The choice, that's a wonderful phrase and a way of looking at it. The choices people make are based on the choices that they have. If we flood the market with garbage, that's what we're going to have. We're going to end up with garbage choices. And that's not blaming the person that's making the decision. It's blaming the system that's put us in this precarious, to use your word, situation in the first doggone place. And I'm as I've gotten older and learned and looked back and said, okay, wow, different choices along the way. That's part of, getting older and trying to learn more along the way. We have had so many opportunities, I believe, as a country to say, no, we aren't going to allow that to be the food that we serve any of us, our children, our old folks, and everybody in between. And this is where this is the group of part of our society that doesn't get called out enough, I believe, and that's the food companies. But then there's another side of this that I don't think gets talked about, and I tie this to tariffs, and I tie this to the war. So right now, what's happening, not about to happen or gonna happen, but what's happening right now, this war is putting an incredible amount of pressure on our farmers. Where does our food come from? Eat the healthy food. It comes from farming, by and large, if we're trying to get away from processed and manufactured food. So we've dug a hole. We're in a hole, and we dug a deeper hole, and we put more pressure on the folks in this industry to navigate by going to a doggone war that we don't need, that's costing us money on the other side that could go to people to help their lives be better so they can make better choices. I'm sorry. I do that. Sorry.
You bet. We also have like an agricultural subsidy policy that's totally whacked. And again, I'm no expert in our agricultural policies, but we subsidize corn, and we don't subsidize fruits and vegetables, and we also don't ensure that there's capital flowing to small farmers, and this is, I think the bigger point here is like, this is a systemic issue. This is not a more individually oriented behavior change, personal responsibility matter. This is a policy and environmental change matter, and a real systemic issue that we need to get addressed.
So let me ask you this, and I know it's not necessarily your bailiwick, as they say, but I know that because of the foundation's involvement in so many social issues, how are you looking at how our food systems are going to be impacted because of the data centers that are going up in so many different places in the country? Give us some of your thoughts there. And
so that's a huge issue, and it's interesting. It's a conversation now that's happening like more frequently internally as we think about like what our role could be, what the levers are. I think these data centers are popping up everywhere. They're extracting like huge amounts of energy and water, and I mean so much. So I think we're really early in sort of our thinking about the role that the foundation might play, but it's certainly like an equity issue, and one that we need to stay apprised of. And I think communities need to be holding these companies accountable, like what's in it for they're coming in, and so there should be things like good neighbor agreements where, communities can like hold these companies accountable to ensuring that like there's something in it for these communities where we're seeing these data centers coming in. So again, like we're really early. It's certainly an issue, I think, on a lot of people's radar screens, and we need to get in front of this because of, it draining resources from community and people.
Jamie, one of the other questions that came to mind when I was thinking about talking with you this morning is how Trump's Medicaid cuts have led to a certain number of deaths in America, and I read a report that since last year's big awful bill, that there's some estimates that somewhere in the range of 15 to maybe 17,000 people have died as a result of the cuts to Medicaid. Do you have any data that doesn't support that, but just speaks to the conversation around people that may have suffered and lost their lives as a result of the cuts?
So I don't necessarily have that data off the top, but just to give a sense of, I think, how many people, like even in the city of Chicago, so you have 30% of people in Chicago are enrolled in Medicaid. That's a large percent of the population that depends on this. And so again, it goes back to like people without Medicaid, people without SNAP, or having these literally lifelines like stripped of them, are being faced with the impossible decisions. These are not like abstractions, these are like real people's lives, and the realities of what's happening when people don't have access to health care and access to food, like these basic human needs and rights. And so, again, like this administration is the current administration is just actively taking SNAP benefits and Medicaid away from millions and millions of people, thereby burdening states with costs that they're not going to be able to cover. And unfortunately, I think we're going to continue to see these harrowing statistics of people getting sicker, living sicker, dying younger than maybe we've ever seen.
Jamie, let's do this. Let's look at our calendars and try to have you come back on in the next week or two, because what I want to talk about are the impact, some of the data on the impact on the states. Because I know you touched on that, but we've run out of time. But I definitely want to keep the conversation going about that, because that's an important one. When I think people don't understand the negative downward push of these cuts. So let's set up another day to do this again. Would that sound okay to you?
You bet. I'd love to do that. We can talk about, again, profound. We've talked focused on the beneficiaries, but profound impact on the states and also local business, local grocers, farmers. Yes, I would welcome the chance to come back and talk to you.
All right, we'll get the oars ready so we can get the boat back in the water. Jamie Bussel, she is a senior program director with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We'll get back together sooner than later. Have a great rest of the week and a good Memorial Day weekend, okay?
You do the same. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon. Guys, let's hit a quick break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950 way up in Minnesota, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
You're the only voice of reason on the radio.
You give me hope.
Having listened to you every day.
Thank you for your clear insight.
Always felt a little bit smarter.
I listen to you every single day.
I keep coming back to this station, and thank you for what you do.
On WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Amazon Business. Discover smart business buying, where unmatched selection meets AI-driven tools to simplify complex processes so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News. I'm Marcela Sanchez. Primary elections took place in 6 states yesterday, including Georgia, where Republicans are headed to runoffs for governor and U.S. Senate after no candidate received at least 50% of the vote. Representative Mike Collins and Derek Dooley will compete for the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate. In the Republican primary for governor, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and healthcare billionaire Rick Jackson advanced to the runoff. Jones has President Trump's endorsement.
I could not leave this stage without thanking President Donald J. Trump for his undivided. He didn't just endorse me once, not twice, not 3 times, even 4th time. I was so honored to have that.
Meanwhile, Jackson says he'll be Trump's favorite governor.
As governor, I'll be like Trump, but with a Southern tone.
Jackson has poured more than $83 million into the race from his personal fortune. Audio courtesy WSB. Federal authorities say 2 teenagers who killed 3 people at a San Diego mosque met online and shared a broad hatred towards different religions and races. The AP's Lisa Dwyer reports.
Hours before the attack, police were racing to find 2 teenagers who would ultimately be deemed responsible after the mother of one called police saying her son was suicidal and had run away. Police Chief Scott Wall credits the heroic efforts of a security guard who called in an alert even as he was engaged in a gun battle with preventing the attackers from getting any further.
Areas of the mosque where as many as 140 kids were within 15 feet of these suspects.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
This is AP News. The NAACP is calling for a boycott of Southern college sports programs over voting rights. Correspondent Gethin Kulbal has more.
The NAACP is calling on black athletes, alumni, fans, and the general public to boycott the athletic programs of public universities in states that aim to redistrict longtime black lawmakers. If black athletes participate in the boycott, it could deplete rosters for powerhouse football and basketball programs across the Southeastern and Atlantic Coast conferences. The effort, launched Tuesday, comes as civil rights activists aim to apply pressure to Republican-led state legislatures through mass protest and economic boycotts. The Congressional Black Caucus has also said it will oppose a key piece of legislation backed by college athletic conferences unless conference leaders oppose the redistricting efforts. I'm Gethin Kulbal.
More stories at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
WCPT replay.
I worked all day updating my office on what's going on with ICE agents. These are animals. There's video of them tasing a man who was already zip tied in a vehicle, and they tased him because what? They didn't like the way he was behaving, or he was already zip tied. Not to mention a 1-year-old who was exposed to tear gas as her parents were running errands, as they were also, by the way, chasing down an 11-year-old girl. I'm not going to say I'm sorry for calling them animals who won't even share their badge numbers, their names, or their faces with us. Spare me for their protection, as though there aren't judges, police officers, FBI, all the different areas of law enforcement and our justice system who do put themselves on the line. We've had judges whose families have been killed in their homes. So you're telling me that an ICE agent is feeling a little bit, are they feeling vulnerable?
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. It is Wednesday, which means that our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 is hanging out with us this morning. Good morning, Kurt. Welcome to the show.
Morning, Richard. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely.
Glad to see you.
Absolutely.
Glad to talk to you.
You look good, man. You look healthy.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Looking healthy.
I've been getting some sun. I've been having to mow the yard. You know, that thing I love to do.
That yard work that you love to do, man. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Kurt, we got a couple callers that I thought we'd throw on while you and I are chatting it up this morning. How do you feel about that?
That sounds great.
All right, let's do it. Let's go to Michael. Michael, good morning. You had a answer to a question earlier about if you were sitting down with Chuck and Hakeem. I'm being very informal there, but if you were sitting down with the two minority leaders, what would that conversation look like?
Well, first, I am a senior citizen, 68 years old, been voting all my life, all of my legal life to register not only myself, but other people through the Bussel organization here in Chicago. We need to go back to the basics. We need to mass protest. We need to mass register people to vote as a solution. I would tell Chuck Schumer and I would tell Hakeem, get the lead out of your A's and get it together. And if you can't do it, you need to be replaced in terms of political leadership. This is not only a partisan situation. We are up against the let them eat cake crowd, almost like the French resistance. And if we don't look out, we're not going to have rights. They already gutted the Voters' Rights Act of 1964, which tried to address the 13th, 14th, and then 15th Amendment issues, the attacks on those. It's clear to me that somehow we need what is considered, and I'm just going to tell you, it's called precinct organization. Something very basic where you knock on somebody's door and you ask them, because you're looking at the voting roll, why they haven't voted. And bring these people to the table because clearly we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's on you can look at the budget. Now, I'm a political science graduate. I graduated later in life in terms of from Chicago State. But I was a legislative aide to a state representative. I also, Connie Howard. I also volunteered my time with Congressman Danny Davis and Bobby Rush and a few other ones that were there. And I've been able to understand what a budget means. A lot of people don't. Not that our American voice is, our demographics, our politicians do not and have not been able to get the money that they get from the DNC for voting through as far as participation. Make sure that money is passed down on the precincts.
On the precinct
Too
level,
many politicians put it in their pocket, and that's the bottom line. So when you get a hold of Robin Kelly, you ask the question, what is the percentage of her money that goes to political precinct operations? Because you're going to need soldiers, and people not working for free.
No, without a doubt, Michael.
Anytime you hear 30% of Chicagoans are on Medicaid, we got an issue.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate your call. We're going to go to another quick caller. Let's grab Denise real quickly. Denise, good morning and welcome to the show. What are your thoughts about my question about if you were sitting down with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries? What would that conversation look like?
Well, quickly, I need to thank you. This is not recent, but you gave homage to St. Teacher Jackson when you first started, and that meant so much as another black sister. That was beautiful and respectful. If I sat down with Schumer and Jeffrey, Mr. Schumer and Mr. Jeffries, I'd say $30 at least for a minimum wage. If the groceries and gas increase, we need to increase in our daily wages. We need to teach AI. Teach people. Don't push them out of a job. Somebody has to deal with the robot who is twirling around and marching right into a flooded viaduct. That's millions of dollars gone. Someone needs to teach the robot how to deliver food, even if you get bumped by a scooter, and not circle around and circle around. Teach people they can fish for life. Teach. Yeah, I'm a former teacher, so teach people that they can really handle life. And then make some of the people sometimes spend a week in our shoes. Let them come to Chicago. Let them come everywhere and see how it is to live off just what you make. Thank you. Have a marvelous day.
Thanks, Denise. Thanks for your call. So there you go, Kurt. I thought we'd put a little bit of we'd change it up a little bit in terms of how you and I lean into this. So interesting. I mean, two Chicagoans. So we know Chicago's a big political city, big city in general. But they essentially said the same thing, and that's reconnect with everyday folk, reconnect with people that are, out here struggling and fighting and scuffling to try to make it through. What were your thoughts? What was going through your mind when you were listening to both Michael and to Denise?
Well, I think Michael and Denise are a representation of citizens across the country. I don't care if it's in the middle of Chicago and rural Indiana and Nebraska, Idaho, wherever. I think people in general have this feeling, and I think we all would have kind of the same conversation with both of those individuals if we sit down. You need to start paying attention to those who have voted and put you in office, and quit paying attention to all of those who are giving you money and telling you what you need to do, because we are the ones that are suffering right now. We are the ones that are hurting. And when you talk out of both sides of your mouth, you're doing nobody any good. And that's exactly what's happening. They can't stand there and talk about democracy and then turn around and do things that are actually, enabling those to destroy our democracy. So I agree 100% with both Michael and Denise. So I think millions of us do. So.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. And I think that the reason I wanted to I asked the question, the reason I wanted to have it be part of the conversation is it's not about dogging them. It's about helping them do better, and making sure that they're. But the one of the resources to doing that is plugging them into people outside of the Beltway, plugging them into people. I think that the minority leaders, both of them, should be on a tour right now of places in America that we need to get out and vote. They need to come to your part of Indiana. I'm not going to say where you live because that I don't do that, but they need to come to where you live in that part of Indiana. They need to go to the wherever's communities of the country and listen to what folks are really saying, not filtered through their aides who don't want to tell them the truth, that people are PO'd, and we got to deal with that. I think that that's something it's missing, but it can be fixed. And one of the first things I would say to them when I sat down with them is I don't want you all to get defensive with what's about to come at you. I want you to be open-minded and open-hearted so that you can actually listen from a position of compassion and understanding. Because I know that when we criticize anybody, ourselves, you criticize me, I criticize you, sometimes the first thing is human nature is to get defensive and to tighten up and not be willing to able to listen. That's just human nature. But I would want to say, listen, y'all need to relax. Let us share with you what we believe you need to hear that you're probably not hearing because you're getting filtered versions of it from the people that are around you that just want to keep, propping you up and telling you only the good news, if that makes any sense, Kurt.
Yeah. It makes
and then drop
sense.
the hammer on them.
Yeah. I mean, we have to have some serious conversations. We have to, not with just those who represent us in office, but with each other. We have to get to the core of the problem of why we are where we are at right now and what is happening in our country. And there are so many things that have contributed to this. And it is very hard for politicians, just like the race that Massey just lost. Tom Massey is a Republican, and he has voted on some horrendous bills. He has sided with MAGA on many times, but he has also been someone who has stood up and has took a stance against MAGA recently that, a lot of us have been, pleasantly surprised. And it goes to show you that even hardcore left-leaning, socialist, progressive, whatever you want to call us, Democrats, can look at a guy like Thomas Massey and say, hey, you know what? I don't agree with everything you say, but I could stand in your corner if this is where you're going to be.
Yeah. Okay.
The dude that defeated him, he was funded $15.5 million from AIPAC, and Thomas Massey takes none. That is something that has to be looked at. We have to pay attention. You mentioned PAC money earlier. You're absolutely right. PAC money can be great if it's a good PAC that comes from people. When it is a corporate PAC or a lobbying PAC that is for a certain cause, those are the ones we have to look at. And those are the ones we have to be critical of.
And those are the ones that are the least transparent. That's what Sheldon Whitehouse is constantly talking about, is that those are the ones that are the least transparent, the ones that are doing the most harm, the Leonard Leos and all of his extensions of connections, blah, blah, blah. But you're so well on target here with saying that we have to be willing to stand with the people that even if they've said and done some things that we're like, no, I'm not down with that. When they make a move in a direction that's doing the right thing, we acknowledge that, because he got buried by money. This guy, candidly, Kurt, this guy, Thomas Massey, is a better politician and a better leader than, even though you and I would not agree with a lot of his votes.
Absolutely.
He's still would be a better representative, I believe, than the guy that they're going to get. But they voted for him. They voted for him, and that's they got to carry that bucket of water, just like you and I got to go to break right now. Let's go to a quick break, my man. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950 way up in Minnesota, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 and myself will be right back.
The Thom Hartmann radio program provides all of the intelligence, information, and insight you'll need to win the water cooler wars. Weekdays 11 to 2 right here on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's 4 words no parent should ever hear. Your child is sick. It's 4 words that change everything. Those 4 words can define a family. It's 4 words that are filled with pain, heartache, and grief. And with those 4 words, the innocence and joy of childhood disappears. But Starlight has taught us 4 other words that make all the difference. The power of play, Healing begins with happiness. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation delivers happiness through gaming, toy deliveries, and more to 3 million kids at more than 700 hospitals across the country to deliver happiness when it matters most. Learn more at starlight.org.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
We may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I think that sometimes what people misunderstand, I don't think this, I know this, is that we can be critical of our party with the goal being getting better. I'm locked into that, and anybody that doesn't see it that way or doesn't see that that's how I see it, you're not paying attention. I want our team to succeed, but if we don't make changes and present, listen, the two callers said what a lot of people are saying throughout the country, and that is we want them to succeed. They didn't say we want to kick you out. I mean, well, Michael did say, get the lead out of your behind. But the point is, we want our team to succeed, but we got to make some systemic changes. Kurt, I'm going to pivot a little bit only because I want to talk to you about something that has happened as it relates to these elections that are taking place. And we saw what happened with Massey. We saw what happened, or we're about to see what's going to happen in Texas. We saw what happened with Raffensperger down in Georgia. The Democrats are doing great in each of these, in all these primaries. We saw a much more progressive candidate win in Pennsylvania, and the list goes on. But Donald Trump has gone ahead and decided to endorse Ken Paxton. And, I agree that this is probably the race that we want versus Cornyn because of the baggage that Paxton has. I'm just hoping that Texas can rally together to see that Paxton's hurt your state. And I said this the morning after the primary when James Tallarico won over Jasmine Crockett. Now, I didn't, I picked sides. I wanted to see her win. I'm not going to run away from that. But she didn't, and she did the most politically savvy thing I've seen in a long time. She didn't wait 10 days. Next day, she said, listen, y'all, we got to get behind him because we got to win this seat. So she did the thing that a lot of politicians won't do. She didn't take a deep breath and go, well, what should I do? Let me check the temperature. What way is the wind blowing? So now that we know what we're going to be up against. What are your thoughts on this race now in Texas where we know our candidate's going to be Tallarico and probably going to be Paxton? Where are you coming from on that?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that, we see a shift in a lot of these elections and special elections and the primaries and what have you, but we still haven't seen it. It seems like we're getting to that, we're slowly going up that hill on the roller coaster, but we haven't reached the summit yet to where we're, full speed ahead. And I think this is one of those races that's going to maybe give us some of that insight to what direction we're going in. I mean, you and I have been talking for 2 years now, and, we'll never figure out why some of these dudes get elected into office. I mean, Paxton is, I people don't understand this, but Indiana leadership and Texas leadership, as far as like governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, they're like carbon copies of each other. They are about as MAGA as you can get and about as idiotic as you can get. I mean, these guys are just they're pointless. They are bootlickers to the max. And I know that term gets overused, but these guys don't care about anything. And I think that is part of what has happened with the MAGA movement and the Republican Party. And, this may be controversial to some people too, but this all stems from the fact that there was a black guy that was elected president. They hated that. They said no more. And so they don't care who they put in, who they vote for. I mean, Trump said it himself. I don't care how horrible a person you are. If you support me, I'm going to like you. I mean, this is the MAGA. This is the MAGA mindset. They don't care. They're too stupid to understand that the decisions that these people are making are not just hurting us Democrats or liberals or the LGBTQ community. They're hurting all of us, but they're too ignorant and they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
It's the Lyndon Johnson. It's the Lyndon Johnson.
What is
statement.
it? White supremacy.
Yeah, it's the Lyndon Johnson statement from 40 years ago, 50 years ago on steroids. If we can get, if we can get a lower income white guy, white family, white individual, white community to think that they can step on a black person, no matter where that black person lands in the status of our community, then that's a win for that narrow-minded white person, because they can then say, I got somebody that I'm better than. And that, I'm paraphrasing and adding some words to what Lyndon Johnson said. But
they're
But no, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you continue. They're doing it. That's what they're doing.
That's where we are. And you said it well about how MAGA this is where they are. I mean, and so Ken Paxton running in this race is, I'm going to be fingers crossed optimistic and hope that this time Texas can see that the person, this dude's baggage is going to become your baggage. And the only reason that he's a player in this situation isn't because of his accomplishments. It's because he kissed both of Donald's cheeks. And Cornyn basically got tired of the whole garbage that's there. Kind of like what we said earlier when we were talking with Jamie about garbage choices. Garbage opportunities lead to garbage choices. Let me ask you another on another topic, which we'll wrap up with today. This slush fund. I mean, Kurt, I want a slush fund of $1.7 billion so you and I can go out here and get some stuff done to help the country. That's what I want. Give you and me $1.7 billion, and we're going to change some people's lives, not a select few, because they were, Donald thinks that they were, misrepresented. They were attacked by the federal government. No, punk. They attacked our government at your behest, and now you want to cut them a check. Let Kurt and I run that fund, and we'll look at what will happen to some people's lives. Watch some lives get changed overnight. Talk about the slush fund, brother. What do you got to say there?
Oh, man. I mean, J.D. Vance getting on sending a news conference, because I watched that over and over again, and saying it's the weaponization of the,
You masochist.
People experienced, and, Democrats, they could file for this too. Give me a break. I'm so sick of listening to these people stand there and just flat out lie to the American people. And so many are just, that was set up by Nancy Pelosi. It was a Democratic, are you serious? We have a dude who lost an election, couldn't handle it, tried everything he could under his feeble mind to change that, making phone calls, having fake electors, having Jeannie Thomas do his legwork. I mean, Rudy, all of these people, and incited an insurrection. And I guarantee you, if it had been successful, he would have stayed in office. He would have took power back. Yeah. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And to say that they were weaponized against, that the Justice Department under Joe Biden weaponized them. And I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And people don't understand the depths of this thing. Trump's team, they dropped the $10 billion case on their own, okay, because it got shot down in the courts. But instead of it going through the process and being thrown out, they withdrew it. Why? Because behind the scenes they made a deal with, Bussel and doing this doing this deal. Todd Blanche.
Todd Blanche, yeah. No.
Anyway, Blanche. But this is what they did. But the crazy thing about this is the part of the deal that is in this, and I'm trying to find the words here. Basically Trump has been relieved of being prosecuted in the future. His company, himself, his family, any of the ties. Part of this deal, Liz Oyer did a great piece on it.
Yes, she did. You guys should check out Liz Oyer. She's a former.
Absolutely.
Oh God, I just drew a blank too. We're getting old, man. But she's one that speaks to when there is abuse that goes on in the federal government, and if there are abuses when it comes to lawsuits. Her role, which was basically eliminated, is to step in and say, no, the federal government's wrong here. I'm giving a very, very juvenile version of the work that she's done. But I'm going to come what you're going to about Todd Blanche. Basically, what they did is they said they kissed Trump's behind and said, we're never going to look into your tax situation again. The IRS is never going to look into your what you've done and what your filings are. Meanwhile, for people who don't understand this, there were over 400,000 Americans whose tax returns were leaked. So where's their check? Where's their restitution? So MAGA, you all just keep getting punked and totally okey-doked because you all and there's a part of me, and we've said this before we wrap up. There's a part of me, Kurt, that goes back to what you just said. They're just stupid. They're just willfully stupid in this space, man.
Yeah, and I know people get offended when certain words are used, but I mean,
sometimes you got to call it the way it is.
It's a release of claims. It's a release of claims form. So
that's
people
the
need
one.
to Google that release of claims. Google it, take a look at it, and see what just happened with this. I mean, this is the most corrupt regime we've ever seen in our country by far. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And look at all of the things that have happened in just the last week. Okay, we've got Mike Johnson out there saying, "Well, the Congress, our wage isn't really keeping up with the cost of living, so we need to be able to."
We need to be able to insider information,
insider trading. We should be able to do that.
All right, man. We got to get out of here.
Wow. I know that.
All right, so we have to have a conversation off the air about something we got to do. So 773-763-9278. We've been hanging out with Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blues 63. He's going to go run off and do some other great recordings and keep helping people out. Kurt,
absolutely.
Brother, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Quick break, guys. You know where we are. WARR 1520 AM, 103.5 FM in Warren County, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back. Hey, progressives. It's Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views, weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. Central. We're all anxious for the 2026 midterm election to arrive so we can restore some sanity and much-needed oversight to our government. In fact, it's the most important midterm election in American history, and Chu's Views will be in the thick of it, bringing you candidate interviews on a regular basis. I'll be talking to Democratic Party hopefuls running for House and Senate at the federal and state level, as well as candidates for governor and other state and local offices.
I am in love with our ability to fight for our rights, to fight for our future, to fight for our freedoms, to fight as our ancestors fought. It's just our moment. This is just our time to stand up and to speak up. We can't give up on this.
If you miss any of the interviews live, you'll be able to find them all on WCPT's candidate interviews page at heartlandsignal.com/candidates. That's Choose Views, weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
Hey, where's Hal Sparks? I'm not sure where he is now, but I know where you can find him Saturdays at 11. He'll be right here on WCPT 820 for the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high around 60 degrees. Northeast winds around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies develop, a low near 46. By Thursday, sunshine, a high of 63 degrees. And Friday, a chance for some rain showers with cloudy skies, a high around 65. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Debunking the lies your uncle saw on Facebook. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, I have I believe sometimes I can be goofy in certain areas, but I have to say I was watching those folks on that station called CNN, and I saw this guy just giving some folks the business, and I was like, Mr. Baba is not to be messed with. Journalist, political analyst, tech founder and founder of Ahmed Baba News, columnist, and an independent media voice is with us this morning. Been on MSNBC, now MS Now, CNN, the list goes on. Welcome to the show, Ahmed Baba. Thanks for being with us on Choose Views this morning.
Thanks for having me, and I'm glad to be on the show. It's a lot. It's better for my blood pressure than CNN, that's for sure. So appreciate you having me.
I will believe me, we can tag team, and I'll fill in for you anytime. The guys here will tell you that, I'll bring a sledgehammer to the conversation because, I see guys like you on, and I think, man, I wish I could just be there to kind of give them some infusion because they're rolling right now. So thank you so much for when you're on, how you just make it plain. This is what I stand for, what I believe in. This is the craziness that's going on right now. And so kudos to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Ahmed.
Yeah, so, as you talked about, I'm an independent journalist. I've been doing this for about 11 years now. I started when I was like 23 in Trump's first term, documenting every day of his presidency, had a media startup at that time. And now I'm doing, more independent journalism on my own here on Substack. I've got, I had a column at The Independent for 5 or so years. Now I'm making more cable news hits. And really, one of my biggest journalistic projects was one of the first people to cover Project 2025 in 2023. So that was what really kind of, started getting me booked on these shows because I was calling out a lot of what we're seeing right now. So that's what's going on, just some, documentation of casual authoritarianism, and in some cases not so casual. Yeah. That's where we're at.
Last year about this time, the conversation was, one of them at least, are we slipping into authoritarianism? And I said, no, we're there. We are we are there, and it's only going to get worse because of more executive orders, weak legislation, if anything does get passed. And of course, the ugly bill did get passed. But I want to read something to you that comes from one of our listeners that sent this to me this morning. Richard, this is Cindy in Michigan. Republicans hear the word, quote, reparations and freak out. But Trump has just arranged reparations, the slush fund, for himself and his criminal army, not because of a true legitimate injury, but because he has levers of power and can just steal. This is all on the Republicans and the brainwashing machine of the right-wing media. First of all, shout out to Cindy in Michigan for sending us that. She's always down with great commentary. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I think Cindy in Michigan just put it. I don't need to be on the show. She needs to be on the show. She was just spitting some facts right there. No, like she's right. That's a really interesting way of putting it. The contrast, like they really will not give reparations for systemic racism, for actual harm done by the federal government towards Black people. But when it comes to this slush fund robbery, green-lighted immediately just because Trump's the one in power. He wants to help out his buddies after he, previously, of course, there's this new slush fund, but we got to talk about how this was only after he attempted to take $10 billion from the IRS
and put it in his own pocket.
Put it in his own pocket. He was effectively suing himself. In his own words, he said he was suing himself and going to pay himself out of taxpayer funds. And then when that got too much backlash, he's like, okay, fine, we'll just do a 1.776 billion 1776. They thought they were
being funny. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. I know. That went over a lot of people's head. That's what they were doing with that number. Sorry, keep going, bro.
No. I mean, like they were trying to be, for the revolution, 1776. There's some revolutionaries, and it's not subtle because this fund is basically for the 1600 January 6ers who rioted and sought to push an insurrection on behalf of Trump. So effectively, what he's doing, he already pardoned these folks, and now he wants to put millions of dollars in their pockets potentially per person, so that he wants to enrich those who sought to overthrow the federal government. And then we don't even know. Todd Blanche wouldn't explicitly deny whether or not Trump's own family could apply for this, whether or not his very close cronies would apply. It's a robbery of the American people, man, straight up.
It is. And another one of our listeners said, seems like to me, people of color should apply for reparations from the slush fund, since Todd said everyone can apply. I mean, to your point, I mean, he's right in line with what you just said. Thank you, Cassandra in Oak Park.
Yeah. I mean, I think people of color have more of a grievance here. Now immigrants who have been detained improperly. Yeah. Renee Good and Alex Preddy's family. Everybody out here.
They were harmed. They were literally harmed. Those knuckleheads climbing on the Capitol walls, that they got injured just because they don't know how to climb, but they shouldn't have been there in the first place. But I'm being facetious in saying that. But if they got harmed, it's because they were doing something to harm our country, to harm our capital, to harm what we say we believe in. Because this orange fool said, I'm going to be there with you, and we need to go down and take back our country. No, y'all were convicted. And just because you were pardoned doesn't mean you should get a check. Because if that's the case, if that's what it's going to be. And see, this is where, and Matt, tell us what your thoughts are on this. When we talk about legal precedent, not president, but precedent, this is one of those moments where there could be backlash is not the right word, but there could be a swinging of the pendulum. Because if the basis for this is harm, and if the basis of this is wrongful prosecution and weaponizing the justice system against a group of people that have class status legally, I hate to warn y'all, but you better prepare yourselves, because if this does happen, then it could potentially open up the floodgates. And Ahmed, I'm going to hand the baton to you. You take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, let's say if this was actually, created in the way that they say and it's something that could be implemented moving forward. There are a lot of black and brown people with marijuana charges in states where it's now legal, that are in jail or left that could be, why not sue for the years that they were incarcerated over something that's now legal? You want to make a bunch of black people millionaires off this? Because I'm telling you right now that black people are the ones that really have been wronged by a weaponized justice system, mass incarceration. What are we talking about here? That's the thing. It's they keep doing this thing.
That's how stupid. This is how, Ahmed, this is probably what makes you, when you're on CNN and others, where you just go, oh my God, these people have lost their damn minds. Because you sit there and you go, don't you realize how stupid? First of all, it's not necessary. It's crazy that we would do this in the first place. But don't you realize that once you do it, and the people that endorse it and get behind these crazy things that this administration is doing, from the war to the ugly bill to tariffs to Medicare, Medicaid, on and on, on and on. Don't you realize that there is a legal system on its worst day, when run properly, get some things done, and this could come back to haunt you and bite you in the behind.
Yeah, you can't be making legal arguments to judges and think they're just going to evaporate moving forward. Future judges, future legal cases will look at these cases as precedent, and if they see that you greenlit all of this for wrongful prosecutions, there are going to be a lot of black people, a lot of people who are going to be able to be like, I can make that same case. And again, they keep doing this thing where it's they'll take a policy or rhetoric target that's actually relevant for black people and then use it against them. With Don Lemon, one of my friends who I do a Substack with. I mean, of course, everyone knows.
Stop name dropping, man. Come on, why are you name dropping like that?
No, it's just because it's relevant, because they were using sometimes you gotta. But they were doing the Ku Klux Klan Act. They were trying to use the Ku Klux Klan Act to prosecute Don Lemon and those black journalists And it's like now here they are, and it's like they keep you doing things that are relevant for black people. Now they're talking about weaponization of justice need to be paid out to all these January 6ers. And it's like every time they do one of these things, it's like you're very clearly trying to exploit the rhetoric of like black oppression and then flip it on its head and use it to claim you're the ones being oppressed.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like this crazy conversation around white guys that feel like they've been oppressed because of the quote unquote reverse discrimination in the workforce. I mean, last time I checked, yeah, but anyhow.
No, that's relevant too. You know, because that's a logic that Alito and they were kind of arguing in redistricting. Mm-hmm. That it was kind of racist. They were saying it was racist to draw black majority districts, which inherently is saying that you're discriminating against white districts, right? So right. It's like, so now because they think that those districts were drawn or that the racism was against white folks, so now you're going to apply racism against black folks. You're going to use that same mechanism to actually be racist in the redistricting in those communities. Exactly.
And so that leads me to a question that I'll ask you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to ask you a question about the court systems, and I'll just tease it with that. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Ahmed Baba, and we will be right back.
This is the highlight of my morning. Hey, what's up? It's Island.
And I'm Josh.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit is that it's our go-to morning comfort.
And you've got that nice golden fluffy egg.
With a soft, flaky biscuit.
Crispy bacon.
Melty cheese.
You want something quick, you want something convenient, but most of all, you want something good.
There's no better way to start your morning.
There we go.
Start off the morning with a Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit with Simply Orange Juice. Order on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
This is WCPT 820. Listen in Chicago on 820 AM or stream us live on WCPT820.com, the TuneIn radio app, or tell Alexa or Google to play WCPT.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today. We're with Liam after his 4th military move, when being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays, when she misses home the most. We're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Don't hit that snooze button. It's time for Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In case you're just joining us, I'm Richard Chu. This is Choose Views, and we are talking with my I'm going to say colleague, my new colleague, Ahmed Baba, who is, you've seen him on MS, you've seen him on CNN, you've seen him on Substack, followed on Substack. You should be if you're not. So before we went to the break, I said a little tease about the court systems. More broadly, what I mean is SCOTUS. Right now, we've got 6 clearly conservative justices that are, I don't want to say that they're breaking the law, but they certainly are not following what we've been led to believe for decades, that they, for lack of better words, call balls and strikes. They don't get into the curveball, or was it a slider? And it seems as though, and with this VRA, that they're not calling balls and strikes right now. They are being biased, with no real care. Certainly the six, not the three conservative. I mean, the three liberal justices, or ones that seem to be following the letter of the law. What are your thoughts there, Ahmed?
No, I mean, I 100% agree. I think that they start with an objective and then find some legal pathway or arguments to make to get there. I mean, when it comes to this redistricting ruling, when they're effectively throwing out Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the argument that Alito was making was that somehow we have evolved as a country beyond the need for this. And then he echoed the same thing that Chief Justice Roberts said in 2013 at Shelby v. Holder, where he said, our country has changed. And then did it really change? Because immediately after the ruling, within hours, like there's been no better case made for the need of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 than how quickly those states moved to immediately wipe out majority districts. You saw Florida, they added those 4 new Republican seats. Louisiana is set to do the same. Tennessee wiped out Black majority district. We see South Carolina intent on doing the same. It's just they're moving very fast. And to your point about them kind of violating the law, I think it's really important that not only did they erode Section 2 and then, of course, Section 5 in the 2013 case, is that the Section 2, there was an amendment. What Alito changed was he said now you actually need to show intent of racism in order to strike down maps or strike down laws. But the thing is, in 1982, Congress literally passed an amendment to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act to explicitly say, no, you didn't need intent. So he eroded not just the original act, but a subsequent act of Congress to correct it. That was a direct, they've effectively overruled the law. So it's like, how are you, that's not a check and balance. That's invalidating the will of the people.
And that's where I was careful to say about breaking the law, because the goal is to give, to have Congress do their part, and then have the Supreme Court maybe make a judgment on that, but not change it. But this is where I go back to when people talked about the immunity that they gave the president. I said that was really about creating a situation where they would actually end up taking more power, because they would then judge cases differently. And I don't need to be right. It didn't need to be right. But I said that on this show, that was ultimately what their goal was. Don't get fooled by the okie doke. It wasn't really about giving Donald Trump more power. It was about giving themselves more power in terms of lower court decisions. And I'm not a legal scholar, but I could see, because, I'm like you, I'm a regular real dude. It's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they? Because then the president could say, well, we can take you out. We can hire a hit team and come take you out. And I think it's right to do it because I'm the president. And y'all gave me. No, it wasn't about that, y'all. It was so they could grab more power. And a lot of people, I think, missed that. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
No, I mean, I think you're totally right. I think we've seen like a total abuse of power by the Supreme Court.
In some ways, more than Trump.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. And Chief Justice Roberts tries to frame himself as some institutionalist, but like, especially when it comes to voting rights and like rolling back the congressional will, this has been his mission. I mean, people forget he worked on the cases in 2000 that led to, shutting down the vote counting that led to George W. Bush becoming president in the first place. So this has been his mission.
Yeah, wasn't he one of the Brooks Brothers crowd or whatever they call themselves?
Yeah, Brooks Riot, that everybody talks about, and it's insane. And then since then, he's been hell bent on eroding voting rights, and then now emboldening the executive, where it's like they emboldening their own power. Yeah. So now they've basically, it's not co-equal branches now. It's like Congress isn't nothing. The Supreme Court has emboldened themselves, and Trump and specifically Republican presidents are all powerful. When Joe Biden tried to forgive student loans, oh no. Student loans, that's way too, that's an overreach. It's an overreach. But Trump could commit any act while in office, and as long as it's an official act, he's good. It's like they're abusing their power, and I really think, that's why Supreme Court reform is going to be such a key debate in 2028 for Democratic voters, because it's insane. You can't be doing this. And the rollback of Roe v. Wade, of course, got to talk about that. All of the stuff that they've done has caused some irreparable harm.
Hillary was right, y'all. Those 11 things that she said were going to happen or not happen if Donald Trump were elected, going back to 2016 debate. I say it all. I probably say it once a week, Ahmed, that she was right in that cold, cool, beige pantsuit, when she said this is what's going to happen, she was right as rain, and people didn't want to listen, and all the other things that we know. And here we are, and it's happened. And talk about Project 2025. One of my good friends and a contributor to the show here, her name is Karen Byrne, and she has a podcast called True Blue Politics Podcast. A great woman, smart, Chicagoan. She and I, back in the spring of 2024, leading up to the election, we were like, y'all need to be aware of what this Project 2025 900-page document is all about. It's a threat to our democracy on steroids. And, here we are. I mean, this is where we are. Let me ask you a question. I typically ask a question every day to the audience that I want to get their response, get their feedback. And it can be, and most of the time it's going to be in a political world, but I'm going to throw the serious question at you and get your thoughts, and then we'll wrap up with kind of a fun one. Today's question, Ahmed, was if you were sitting down with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, you had a private meeting, big conference room, they brought in lunch, and y'all just chilling. What would that conversation, what would that meeting look like? Give us a quick assessment, and I know I'm just hitting you with this, but what would that look like from your perspective in terms of talking to those two Democratic federal leaders?
It would look like just telling them one of the first things I would tell them is that the truth doesn't need to be poll tested. Like, one of the things that I keep trying to tell Democrats to do is just stand on business more. Like, if you use, lean on your political instincts. Don't go in there and have to like be so, like, you can tell on some of these press releases they release where it's like they sat down and like, how do we make focus group this thing? How do we work this word? And it's like, just tell the truth. If you feel that something is wrong, lead like, you should have enough of a political compass to be able to know what is wrong, to know what is right, and to move with efficiency and action. I would tell them to be out there much more. I would tell them to be creating some more inventive ways to create spectacles of what Trump is doing and to push back. They are still in Congress. Like, I feel like there's been this tendency where especially Jeffries will say like, well, we're not the majority, but it's like, just go out there. People just want to see some fight a lot of the time. So, go out there, see some fight. And I do want to give some credit to Jeffries, especially for the redistricting push.
Yeah,
he was one of those voices that was trying to push Democrats to redistrict. So I would just be telling them like they have to move with the ferocity of the time, and also I would tell them to embrace, especially Schumer's, and tell them to embrace these Democratic primary upstarts that are unseating the establishment.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening in a lot of communities right now. Just last night with Chris Babb in Pennselsvania. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. One of our contributors said that. Qasim Rashid. He said that he thought that Cory Booker was going down the wrong path in terms of his endorsement of the moderate, and that proved itself to be correct because Mr. Babb won that primary. So I think paying attention. I like the way you said that. Pay attention to where the movement is and be ferocity. I love that word. Yeah. I call it knocking over some tables, bringing a sledgehammer and an aluminum baseball bat to the fight and knocking over some tables and making some noise. I think it's okay to do that. I think that we should be having that right now. You said something earlier that I appreciate you saying, and this helps to keep your blood pressure down. And I'm there for you, man. You need me to sit in, let me know. I'll sit in for you. But one of the questions that I asked of my audience last Friday is, we are all going through this craziness together, and we're trying to find our way home. What's your go-to music? What's your go-to song? Your go-to when your day is just crazy, and you want to get your head right? What is it that you turn on?
Well, I don't know if this is controversial for the because given the whole beef situation, but I'm not gonna lie. Right now, I'm listening to the Iceman Drake album. Right now, just released. I've been listening to that album. It's been great. But I don't know if I have a go-to song, but like just some rap music. Just some like give me a really like give me a fire rap song. I'll go to the gym. I'll get in the zone, and I'm good. I don't have a specific one, but I've been cycling through a lot of rap. I go to throwbacks early. Well, I don't know if they're throwbacks to who in the audience are throwbacks to, but like for me, I'm 33, so like the 2000s are throwbacks for me.
Wow. Okay. Well. Look me up, and you'll see that my age in relationship to yours, and then we'll have another conversation about throwback. But I get your point, brother, loud and clear.
What about you? What's the song you've been listening to?
Well, this is a throwback to the late 70s. The song "Ain't No Stopping Us Now" by McFadden and Whitehead. It's one of my go-tos. And then another one is a gospel song, which is "Be Optimistic" by Sounds of Blackness. It's one that really drives me. And "Rise" by Herb Alpert is another one that kind of crosses generations.
Yes, you got the classics there.
Got the classics there, man. Ahmed, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to do this again because you have just been, I saw you, man. I was like, we got to have this brother on because you really bring the noise, you bring the truth. And I appreciate and respect that you do that in an unfiltered way. Be damned what somebody's going to say about you. So I'm proud of the way in which you do that. So thank you for that kind of leadership. Look forward to having you back on the show. Check him out. It's Ahmed Baba, who's been on with us today on Choose Use. We appreciate you. Stay strong, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you, brother. Always happy, to come back. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Be safe, man. Have a good Memorial Day weekend, okay?
Right. You too, brother, all right?
All right. Bye now. Guys, we're going to wrap it up today. You know where we are. This is WCPT and Choose Views. Thanks for everybody for hanging out with us. Thanks to Kurt Mullett for being with us. Thanks to Jamie Bussel for her great information about our food and about SNAP and all the rest. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember to take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
This is a WCPT Civil Rights Snapshot. Most people believe that the most historic thing the Pittsburgh Pirates did in 1971 was win the World Series. However, history was made by the Pirates back in September by starting an all-black lineup, the first in Major League Baseball history, 24 years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. Despite being a historic event, it largely went unnoticed as the newspapers were on strike and the radio broadcast drew little attention to the event, not even mentioning it until the second inning, and the teams themselves not even knowing they had made history. The Pirates won that game 10-7. Rennie Stennett, Gene Clines, Roberto Clemente, Willie Stargell, Manny Sanguillen, Dave Cash, Al Oliver, Jackie Hernandez, and Doc Ellis pitching. All these men made history that day and helped lead the Pirates to win the 1971 World Series. And outfielder Roberto Clemente became the first Latin American player to win the World Series MVP award. Please stay vigilant about our civil rights. The fight is never over.
For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers the professional-grade products you need, delivered when and where you need them. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high around 60 degrees. Northeast winds around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies develop a low near 46. By Thursday, sunshine, a high of 63 degrees. And Friday, a chance for some rain showers with cloudy skies, a high around 65. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high around 60 degrees. Northeast winds around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, partly cloudy skies develop a low near 46. By Thursday, sunshine, a high of 63 degrees. And Friday, a chance for some rain showers with cloudy skies, a high around 65. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
You've been working hard all day and didn't have time to catch up on the news during work.
And that phone just wouldn't stop.
We've got you covered. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
We will fight as many places and as many times as it takes to get this power back.
Joan Esposito, afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m., WCPT 820.
It's 4 words no parent should ever hear. Your child is sick. It's 4 words that change everything. Those 4 words can define a family. It's 4 words that are filled with pain, heartache, and grief. And with those 4 words, the innocence and joy of childhood disappears. But Starlight has taught us 4 other words that make all the difference. The power of play. Healing begins with happiness. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation delivers happiness through gaming, toy deliveries, and more to 3 million kids at more than 700 hospitals across the country to deliver happiness when it matters most. Learn more at starlight.org.
Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Can we fix our democracy? Absolutely. We have to. We have no choice. Has it been a democracy that's had major flaws and holes in it like Swiss cheese? Absolutely. And do our systems fail us? Yes, they do. It starts with this, guys. Trust me when I say this. It starts with acknowledging that we have these issues and we have these problems.
Richard Chew, weekday mornings at 6 on WCPT 820. WCPT Replay.
The professor of political science and women's and gender studies at Brooklyn College and the graduate center of the City University of New York and author of Sex Is As Sex Does, Governing Transgender Identity. Yeah, Paisley Curra.
The legislation that they've passed doesn't really speak to any particular problems. Like the legislation that they've passed might be described as like a solution in search of a problem. The legislation covers, school and college participation in sports. And when it comes to like elite sports, that's already governed by the whatever sports associations. They have their own policies and they're working through policies on transgender participation. So it's not necessary for legislatures to weigh in on that. This legislation is really targeting like middle school and high school kids at the non-elite level, and that is where it really just part of enrolling transgender people in the culture wars to create problems where none exist.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Did you know that there are only 49 states in America that require you to have car insurance? At Chicago's Progressive Talk, we're in Illinois, and Illinois is one of the 49 states that require you to have car insurance. Let's look at some car insurance companies that support the Democratic Party. American Family Insurance. American Family Insurance was once very conservative, but since 2019, they have moved to the left, donating $214,000 to Democrats in 2024. AAA was also once very conservative, but in 2014, they shifted to the left, donating $235,000 to Democrats in 2024. 83% of their donations went to Democrats. Liberty Mutual. Now, Liberty Mutual leans to the left, and yes, they did donate $1.6 million to Democrats in 2024. That was only 64% of their donations. Progressive Insurance. Progressive does not give to politics, but some of their senior leaders do, and their senior leaders lean left. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
As the 2024 elections start to take shape.
Well, I want to thank everybody. This is a fantastic state.
The committee raised the target range for the federal funds rate by a 0.25 percentage point.
Tune in to WCPT 820 for insightful conversation.
There is no indictment and there is no conviction that is going to cause him to quit this race.
An in-depth analysis. We are Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Elections matter.
WCPT 820, where facts matter. You know that you can listen to Chicago's Progressive Talk on WCPT AM 820. Stream us live at WCPT820.com and on the TuneIn Radio app. Or you can ask Alexa, Siri, or Google to play WCPT from
Chicago's Progressive